Good evening, everyone. It's Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass and the Pack podcasting channels. We have a wonderful change coming up so we can bring you Santa's Stories of Impact live. And that change is very simple. We at Community Impact are going to be switching places and switching days with our dear friend Santa Claus. Santa's going to be broadcasting live on the Pack channels on Wednesdays, and we are going to move our show, Community Impact, and all of our shows, Les Simpson, Lynn Sobolski's free tarot reading, the third Tuesday of every month. Aviva Chunsky Gutman and Joel White are all moving to Tuesday night. So please take note of the change. It's going to become an everyday thing, but we're doing this so we can bring Santa's stories live to you on Community Impact and the PAC channels. We want to make sure that we're spreading the good word and the great things that Santa does. But now, for tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to be sharing 3 stories with you from Santa.
In a quiet little town of Evergreen Hollow, winter usually arrived gently. Snowflakes drifted down like feathers, settling softly on rooftops, sidewalks, and branches of tall evergreen trees. The people of the town loved those kinds of snowflakes, the calm ones that made everything look peaceful without interrupting daily life too much. Evergreen Hollow was a friendly town on the surface. Neighbors waved politely when they passed. Shopkeepers smiled and said hello. Children nodded at one another on the playground. But most folks kept to themselves. Everyone had busy schedules, warm homes, and somewhere important to be. Conversations were quick, doors were often closed, and people assumed they were always be time later to really connect. That assumption changed just days before Christmas. The evening sky darkened earlier than usual, and the air felt heavy, as if it were holding a secret. Snow began falling faster than anyone expected, thick, swirling flakes carried by restless wind. By nightfall, the wind howled through the streets, rattling shutters and piling snow up against the doors and the fences. By morning, Evergreen Hollow was unrecognizable. Snowdrifts rose higher than mailboxes. Cars were completely buried. Roads vanished beneath layers of white snow. Trees bowed under the weight of the snow, and the entire town seemed wrapped in a frozen hush. 8-year-old Milo Harper pressed his nose against the window of his small blue house at the end of Pine Street. "Grandma," he said slowly, "I think winter moved in and forgot to leave." Grandma Harper chuckled softly. Through her eyes showed concern. She wrapped her scarf tightly and peeked outside. "That's just not just snowfall," she said. "That's a snowstorm with something to say." Just then the lights flickered once, twice, and poof! Out they went. All across Evergreen Hollow, heaters shut off, ovens cooled, phones lost their signal, and televisions went silent. The town had never been fully snowed in like this before. At first, everybody stayed indoors. People checked their cupboards, wrapped themselves in blankets, watched the snow pile higher and higher. Hours passed. The silence felt heavier than the storm itself. And then the magic started happening. Slowly, doors began to open. Milo noticed movement across outside and tugged on his boots. His neighbor, Mr. Alvarez, was struggling to shovel a narrow path through the snow. Each scoop looked heavier than the last. Grandma, said Milo, already pulling on his coat, he needs help. Grandma Harper smiled warmly. That's how storms lose their power. Together, Milo and Mr. Alvarez shoveled until their arms were sore and their cheeks were red. They laughed when Milo slipped and landed in a snowbank. I didn't think anybody would come out today, Mr. Alvarez said. Milo grinned. I didn't think I would either, but I'm glad I did. Across town, similar moments were unfolding. At the bakery, Mrs. Bell lit candles and baked bread using her old wood stove. The smell drifted through the frozen air, drawing people from their homes. She handed out warm loaves, refusing payment at the apartment building on Cedar Lane. Neighbors knocked on their doors they had never knocked on before, checked on seniors, sharing soup, lighting candles together in the hallway. Teenagers who usually kept their headphones on worked side by side, clearing paths and laughing as snow fell everywhere. Someone built a sled out of a door. Someone else made hot cocoa over a fire pit in town square. By afternoon, Evergreen Hollow felt different. Not because the snow had changed, but because the people had. Children who barely knew each other built enormous snow forts together. Parents shared stories of their childhood Christmases. Strangers became helpers. Helpers became friends. And as evening fell, the storm intensified again. But inside homes and hearts were warm and spread. In the town square, flames flickered in a large fire pit. People gathered close, wrapped their coats and scarves tighter than before, sharing food and laughter. Milo sat beside Grandma Harper, sipping hot cocoa. Grandma, he whispered, why didn't we do this before? She looked around at the glowing faces, the kindness, the shared smiles. Sometimes, she said gently, it takes being slowed down to remember what matters. Just then, something magical happened. The wind softened, the snow slowed, and from the sky fell larger flakes, sparkling as if dusted with starlight, and the children gasped. It looks like Christmas snow, someone exclaimed. As the final flakes touched the ground, the town lights flickered back on. Cheers erupted, people clapped, hugged, and smiled, but no one rushed back inside. They stayed, they talked, they promised. As the fire crackled in the town square, snow continued to fall gently around Evergreen Hollow, blanketing the world in a soft, blowing hush. No one felt rushed, no one checked the time. It was as if the storm had pressed pause on the world and invited everybody to simply be together. Milo noticed something else too. People were listening, really listening. Mrs. Bell sat beside Mr. Jenkins, learning that he used to play the violin when he was younger, but stopped when life became too busy. A group of children gathered around him, asking if he could still play. I think I remember how, he said with a shy smile. Someone brought an old violin case from their home nearby. Mr. Jenkins tightened the strings, took a deep breath, and played a soft, wobbly tune. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. Applause filled the square, and Mr. Jenkins wiped away a tear he hadn't expected. Nearby, a young mother named Claire rocked her baby while talking with Mrs. Chen, who lived alone and rarely left her home. I didn't think anybody noticed me anymore, Mrs. Chen admitted quietly. Claire smiled and gently placed the baby's mittened hand in Mrs. Chen's palm. We notice now. The storm hadn't just brought people outside, it had opened hearts. As night deepened, the temperature dropped, but the warmth of togetherness only grew stronger. Sometimes someone suggested telling stories. Not Christmas stories from books, but real ones. One by one, people shared moments they had never spoken out loud before. A teenager talked about feeling invisible at school. A father admitted he had worked too much and missed the kids. A woman shared how lonely the holidays had felt since her husband passed away. No one interrupted, no one judged. They listened. Milo sat close to Grandma Harper, leaning against her side. "Is this what Christmas feels like?" he whispered. She kissed the top of his hat. "This is what Christmas means." Just then a loud crack echoed through the town. Everyone jumped. A massive tree branch, heavy with snow, had snapped and fallen across the road near the square, blocking the only cleared path. For a moment, fear rippled through the crowd, but then something remarkable happened. No one panicked, no one complained. People stood up together. Teenagers grabbed ropes, adults fetched tools, someone handed out gloves. Milo watched as the same neighbors who barely waved weeks ago worked together, shoulder to shoulder, laughing, slipping, and helping one another until the path was clear again. When it was done, cheers erupted louder than before. "That," Grandma Harper said softly, "is what community looks like." Later that night, as the storm finally began to fade, children lay on their backs in the snow, staring up at the sky. The clouds parted just enough to reveal a scattering of stars. "They look brighter tonight," Milo said. "There always were," Grandma replied. "We just didn't always stop to see them." Before heading home, people hugged goodbye, real hugs, the kind that linger. Promises were made to visit, to help, to check in, and for the first time in a long time, no one felt alone walking back through the snow. As the crowd slowly began to drift back towards their homes, something unexpected happened once more. Snow began to fall again, but not heavily. These flakes were slow, gentle, and almost playful, twirling as if they were choosing exactly where to land. Children reached out their gloved hands trying to catch them. "Make a wish," someone said. Milo closed his eyes and whispered his into the cold night air. Around the town, small lanterns flickered on porches. Doors that were always shut tight remained open just a little longer, and from one house came the sound of laughter, from another the soft notes of music. Mrs. Bell stood in her bakery doorway, handing out the last of her bread. "Take it," she said warmly. "There's always more where that when it's shared." Mr. Alvarez helped an elderly couple make it safely home, promising to check on them in the morning. Teenagers were once rushed past one another, now talked quietly as if they walked, with their breath rising in the cold. Milo noticed something important. People weren't saying goodbye the way they used to. They were saying, "See you around." They were saying, "See you tomorrow." Grandma Harper squeezed Milo's hands. "That's how you know something's changed," she said. When people plan to come back. As Milo climbed into bed later that night, the storm finally quit. He felt warm in a way blankets couldn't explain. Outside, Evergreen Hollow rested under a soft layer of snow, but inside the town, something new had taken root. Connection. As Milo drifted off to sleep, he was certain of one thing. No matter how long it took for the snow to melt, the friendships it created would last far beyond winter. The next morning, Evergreen Hollow woke up brighter than ever. Roads were cleared together, doors remained open, people waved, not out of habit, but out of friendship. From that year on, the town celebrated Snowstorm Day every December. Phones were turned off, meals were shared, stories were told, and whenever the snow fell a little heavier than usual, Milo smiled because he knew the greatest storms don't come to divide us. They come to bring us together. Wow. Here's the moral of the story. Sometimes life sends us a storm not to stop us, but to slow us down. When we help one another, we share what we have and take time to truly connect. We discover that kindness and friendship are the warmest gifts of all, especially at Christmas. Wow, wasn't that awesome, boys and girls, mums and dads? Come back again tomorrow for another wonderful story from Santa Papa John at Storytime by Santa. Ho, ho, ho! Far away from the North Pole, on the opposite side of the world, where an ocean turned to glass and the wind sang across endless white plains, there lived a young penguin named Percival Snow Toe, although everybody called him Percy. Percy lived in a large penguin colony where life followed a steady and predictable rhythm. Each morning the colony woke up before the sun. Penguins stretched their flippers, shook snow from their feathers, and slid across the ice towards the sea. They dove gracefully into the icy water, catching fish with speed and a skill before returning to shore to share stories of the day. Percy loved his home. He loved the glow of the sky at dawn and the way the ice sparkled when the sun finally rose, but Percy often felt like he didn't quite belong. The other penguins were excellent swimmers. They dove deep and fast, cutting through the water like arrows. Percy tried to follow them, but his dives were clumsy. He splashed too hard, missed his fish, and popped back up, gasping for breath when the others laughed and swam on. When the penguins practiced sliding races across the ice, Percy tried just as hard. He leaned forward, pushed off, and slid, only to spin sideways and tumble into a snowbank. He always laughed along with everyone else, but inside his heart felt heavy. Percy wasn't lazy, he wasn't careless, he just wasn't very good at the things everyone else seemed born to do. So whenever the colony grew busy, Percy wandered off towards the quiet edges of the ice where the snow lay untouched and the wind whispered softly. There he felt less like he was in the way. One afternoon, while the sky glowed pale blue and the snow drifted lazily from above, Percy scooped up a handful of snow. He packed it carefully between his flippers, rolled it into a smooth brown ball. Curious, he tossed it gently into the air. Plop! He caught it! Percy blinked, surprised. He tossed it again, a little higher this time. Plop! A smile tugged at the corners of his beak. Percy packed a second snowball and tried tossing both of them. Plop, plop! His eyes widened. Then he packed a third. Plop, plop, plop! Percy laughed out loud, the sound echoing across the quiet ice. For the first time in a long time, he felt steady, focused, and happy. From that day on, whenever Percy felt out of place, he practiced juggling snowballs. He practiced early in the morning when the world was quiet. He practiced late at night beneath the glowing sky. He practiced whenever he needed to remind himself that he, wasn't useless, just different. As December crept slowly, excitement buzzed through the colony. Snowstorms grew stronger and the sky shimmered more than often with dancing lights. One evening, the elders called a meeting. Penguins, gather a wide circle as Elder Aurora, the oldest and wisest amongst them, stepped forward. Penguins of the ice, she announced, her voice calm and steady. Christmas is approaching, and this year Santa Claus will pass directly over our seas on his journey around the world. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But, Elder Aurora continued, the storms have grown stronger. If Santa cannot see his way clearly, Christmas magic may scatter across the sky. The colony was given an important task. They would prepare shining snow markers across the ice, bright reflections that would guide Santa's sleigh safely through the night. Everyone worked hard. Penguins polished snowbanks until they shone like mirrors. Others stacked ice crystals carefully to catch the moonlight. Even the youngest penguins helped pack snow into glowing shapes. Percy wanted to help more than anything. He tried building snow markers, but his leaned crooked. He tried polishing ice, but his reflections faded too quickly. No matter how hard he worked, his efforts never looked quite right. Some penguins sighed kindly, others patted his shoulder and said, "You'll get it eventually." But Percy wasn't so sure. One night, feeling especially discouraged, Percy wandered further than usual. Snow fell thick and quiet, muffling the world. Above him, the northern lights shimmered in gentle waves of green and blue. Percy practiced juggling through the glowing sky, tossing snowballs higher and higher, letting them catch the light. Crack! The sound froze him in place. The ice beneath Percy shifted suddenly. A large section of the carefully prepared snow markers slid and collapsed, tumbling into the dark sea below. Lanterns vanished, reflections shattered. Percy's heart sank. Penguins rushed towards the sound. "Our markers," one cried. "What happened?" shouted another. Elder Aurora arrived quickly, her expression serious but calm. She studied the broken ice and nodded slowly. "Without these reflections," she said softly, "Santa may lose his way." Percy stepped forward, trembling. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to ruin anything." The colony grew quiet. Elder Aurora looked at Percy carefully. "Intent matters," she said gently, "and now we must find a solution." The wind picked up, snow fell heavier, time was slipping away. Percy looked down at his flippers, at the snowballs resting there. I might be able to help," he said. Bruno, one of the strongest swimmers, frowned. "How?" Percy swallowed hard. "By juggling." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some penguins looked doubtful, others curious. Elder Aurora nodded slowly. "Show us." Percy climbed to the highest ridge of ice. The wind whipped around him, stinging his feathers. The sky above shimmered faintly. He tossed one snowball, then two, then three, then four. Percy moved carefully at first, then faster, letting the snowballs rise higher into the glowing sky. As they spun, they caught moonlight, starlight, and the aurora light all at once. The sky seemed to respond. The northern lights grew brighter, reflecting off the spinning snowballs. Beams of light danced across the ice, forming glowing paths that stretched far and wide. High above, bells jingled. Santa's sleigh appeared in the distance. "Look!" someone cried. Percy's flippers ached. His breath puffed weight into the air, but he didn't stop. He juggled with everything he had, keeping the glowing path steady. Santa's sleigh glided smoothly along the lit trail. As he passed overhead, Santa tipped his hat. "Well done, young penguin, well done," Santa called warmly. As Santa's sleigh disappeared into the glowing sky, the penguin collie stood in stunned silence. Snowflakes drifted gently around them, catching bits of fading light from the aurora. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then the youngest penguins began cheering. They slid across the ice towards Percy, flippers flapping, eyes wide with excitement. Do it again," one cried. "Make the lights dance again." Percy laughed, still breathless, and gently tossed a single snowball in the air. It glimmered softly before landing back in his flipper. "I think the sky needs to rest now," Percy said with a grin. The older penguins gathered closer. Bruno, who had once doubted Percy the most, stepped forward and cleared his throat. I was wrong, Bruno said. All that time we thought you weren't good at anything important. Turns out you were practicing for exactly the moment we needed. Percy's cheek warmed beneath his feathers. I just like juggling, he said. Elder Aurora nodded thoughtfully. That is often how true gifts begin, she said. They start as joy, not as duty. The colony worked together through the rest of the night, rebuilding the fallen snow markers and securing the ice shelf so it would not crack again. This time Percy helped in a new way. He juggled snowballs slowly and carefully, letting them catch the light so others could see where to place each marker. The snowballs became moving guides, floating briefly in the air before gently returning to his flippers. Left a bit, someone would say. Percy would toss the snowball higher, letting it glow brighter. Here. Yes, perfect. For the first time, Percy wasn't trailing behind or apologizing. He was leading. When the work was finished, the penguins gathered in a wide circle, exhausted but smiling. Somebody passed around warm fish stew, and laughter echoed across the ice. Later, as the colony settled in for the night, and laughter echoed across the ice. Later, as the colony settled in for the night, Percy lay on his back staring up at the sky. The northern lights shimmered faintly, slower now, like they were waving goodnight. Bruno lay nearby. You know, he said, we could use your juggling for more than Christmas. Percy tilted his head. Like what? Storm warnings, Bruno said. Celebrations, teaching the chicks how to focus. Maybe even welcoming Santa every year. Percy smiled. I'd like that. And from that night on, Percy was never sent away to practice alone. When the young penguins struggled with sliding or swimming, Percy taught them something else first. How to balance, how to focus, how to keep trying even when something felt awkward. Sometimes they juggled snowballs, sometimes they dropped them and laughed, and sometimes when the sky shimmered just right, Percy would juggle beneath the lights. Not to save Christmas, but to remind everyone that joy, once shared, grows brighter every time it passes along. Cheers erupted across the ice when Percy finally stopped. He collapsed in the snow, laughing and exhausted. Penguins rushed to his side, lifting him up and cheering. Elder Aurora smiled. Percy, she said, you didn't juggle snowballs. You juggled courage, creativity, and hope. That Christmas, Percy was no longer the penguin who couldn't keep up. He was the penguin who juggled snowballs. And every year after that, when the sky glowed and Christmas drew near, Percy stood proudly beneath the lights, knowing that sometimes the very thing that makes you different is exactly what the world needs. Everyone has something special to offer, even if it looks different from everyone else's talent. When you believe in yourself and use your unique gifts to help others, you can light the way for kindness, joy, and true magic. That was the moral of the story, folks. Wasn't that awesome? What a great story, folks. So come back tomorrow and listen to another wonderful tale by Santa Papa John at Storytime by Santa. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Gather around, little ones, for I have a marvelous tale to share with you today. Gather around and make yourself comfortable, for this is a story of how the first Jingle Bell came to be, and it all started with a curious little mouse named Monty. In a lush forest not far from the North Pole, there lived a young moose calf named Monty. Now, Monty was no ordinary moose calf. He had a unique gift. You see, while all the others baby animals were content to play and frolic, little Monty had an insatiable curiosity about how things worked. He would spend hours watching the birds as they built their nest, marveling at the intricate twigs and feathers. He observed the busy beavers damming up the streams with their cleverly woven branches and logs. And he absolutely loved helping Mrs. Rabbit in her vegetable garden. Always eager to learn about the magic of growing things, but Monty's favorite place to visit was the workshop of old Gus, the wise and witty woodcarver. Gus was known far and wide for his magnificent creations, from delicate music boxes to grandfather clocks. The moment Monty could toddle on his own four legs, he'd make his way to Gus's workshop, eager to watch the master craftsman at work. One crisp autumn day, as the leaves danced in the shades of red and gold, young Monty had a brilliant idea. "Gus," he asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement, "why don't you carve something that makes noise? Something jiggly and fun." Gus just chuckled, stroking his long white beard. "A fun idea, little moose. But I'm afraid making musical instruments is not my specialty." Monty was determined, though. He had spent the next few days gathering materials: shiny acorn caps, tiny bells from Gus's scrap pile, and even some shimmering icicles he found by the frozen stream. He strung them all together with bits of vine and moss, his little hooves working diligently to create just the right combination. Finally, Monty proudly presented his creation to Gus, a string of glistening, jingly objects that tinkled and sang with every movement. "Behold," proclaimed the young inventor, "the first jingle bell bracelet in all of the land." Gus was amazed at Monty's creativity and ingenuity. He admired the little moose's handiwork, then had an idea. "Monty," he said, with a twinkle in his eye, "I have a challenge for you. If you can make a noise maker that will announce my arrival each time I enter my workshop, I'll craft you a very special gift in return." And so Monty sat to work, determined to create the purple jingly bell to hang on Gus's workshop door. He tried everything, tying bells to sticks, filling tin cans with pebbles, even experimenting with hollow logs created with seeds and nuts. Days turned into weeks as Monty tinkered and tweaked his noise-making designs. The whole forest would hear him testing each new creation, his cheerful jingling echoing through the trees. The animals began to look forward to their daily dose of Monty's musical merriment. Finally, after many attempts and a few frustrated snorts, Monty created something truly spectacular, a large shimmering bell crafted from polished brass and adorned with intricate engravings. He hung it on the sturdy branch near the workshop door, just waiting for Gus to test its worthiness. When Gus arrived at his workshop one chilly morning, he was greeted by the most delightful surprise. As he approached, Monty's magnificent bell began to jingle and sing. Its melodious tones announced his arrival like a symphony of holiday cheer. The other animals cheered for little Monty, thrilled that their forest had gained such a joyful new tradition. Gus was impressed by the young moose's creation, and he kept his promise. He crafted Monty a truly special gift in return. It was an exquisite miniature version of one of Gus's most prized creations, a tiny wooden music box filled with dancing figurines and a delicate melody that played when opened. From that day forward, however, anyone entering the workshop, they were greeted by a cheerful jingle of Monty's bell, a sound that brought joy and warmth to all who heard it. The young Monty, well, he grew up becoming the official jingle bell maker of the North Pole, spreading his unique brand of holiday cheer far and wide. So whenever you hear those delightful jingles on Santa's sleigh or see them adorning the Christmas tree, remember that it all started with a curious little moose who had a dream and the courage to make it come true. And now, my little friends, as I look out at your smiling faces, I can't help but wonder what wonderful ideas might be brewing in your own imaginative minds. Well, like young Monty, you too have the power to create something truly special, to bring joy and laughter to those around you. So go ahead, let your ideas shine. As Monty's reputation for ingenuity grew through the forest, so did his circle of friends who admired his creativity and kind heart. There was Olivia Opossum, whose deft fingers were perfect for weaving the finest vine and moss. Benny Blue Jay, with his keen eye for finding the shiniest materials to adorn Monty's creations. And even gruff old Gus grew fond of the young inventor, often sharing stories and secrets of woodworking craftsmanship. One winter, as the snow blanketed the forest floor and the chill wind blew through the bare branches, Monty noticed that his animal friends seemed more subdued than usual. Their playful antics had slowed, and their cheerful chatter was replaced by quiet, wistful conversations about the approaching holiday season. It seemed that Monty, without their colorful feathers, soft fur, or vibrant flowers to brighten the landscape, the joy of winter felt harder to come by. Monty pondered his new challenge deeply as he worked on his noise makers each day. He wondered, how can I bring more cheer and warmth to my friends during this magical but melancholy time? And so an idea began to take shape in his bright little mind. An idea that would change the way his woodland neighbors experienced the winter holiday forever. Monty decided to create a grand spectacular of light, color, and merriment to celebrate the season and gift and lift everyone's spirits. He envisioned a dazzling parade led by a magnificent float adorned with all manner of shining baubles, blinking lights, and festive figures crafted from wood, tin, and even bits of discarded holiday decorations he had collected over the years. He gathered his friends and shared his vision. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he spoke. We'll have music and dancing and games and treats. We'll make this the most spectacular winter festival the forest has ever seen. His companions were thrilled by Monty's idea and eagerly offered to help bring it to life. Olivia once used her weaving skills to create a stunning array of garlands. I know where that is, she said. Wreaths and banners in every color imaginable. Benny scoured the forest for the shiniest materials to adorn the float and make it sparkle under the moonlight. Even Grumpy Gus was moved by Monty's enthusiasm. He crafted a magnificent wooden sleigh for the float and shared stories of his own holiday celebration from years gone by. As the day of the festival approached, Monty worked tirelessly on his most ambitious creation yet, a colossal illuminated tree to serve as the centerpiece of the celebration. He had Olivia help him weave an enormous net of pine branches, and Benny assisted in gathering the shiniest ornaments to adorn it. Gus even carved a magnificent wooden star for the very top. Finally, the day arrived as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. The animals gathered, dressed in their finest winter attire. Monty led the parade atop his magnificent float, ringing a special bell he had crafted just for the occasion, the first official jingle bell. Imagine that, kids. The festival was an incredible sight. The forest had never seen such a dazzling display of holiday spirit. Fireflies twinkled little fairy lights as they flitted around the branches, and the animal voices rose in joyous carols and laughter. Children's eyes widened with wonder at the magnificent scene before them. As Monty stood proudly before the towering tree, he felt the warmth inside him that he had nothing but the crackling bonfire nearby. He realized that his feeling of happiness and fulfillment came from bringing for his friends together in celebration and spreading joy throughout the forest. From that day forward, Monty's Winter Festival became an annual tradition eagerly anticipated by all. And each year, Monty would add new creations to the festival. Elaborate floats, twinkling lights, and of course, more jingle bells. And the once melancholy winter season was now a time of unbridled joy and togetherness for even creatures in the woods. As Monty grew older, his fame as the Jingle Bell Maker spread far beyond the forest. News of the magical celebration he hosted reached the North Pole itself, catching the attention of none other than Santa Claus. Intrigued by tales of the moose who brought so many holiday cheer to his fellow creatures, Santa Papa John, decided to pay Monty a visit. When the jolly old elf, that would be me, arrived at the edge of the forest, he was greeted by an astonishing sight. Thousands and thousands upon thousands of jingle bells strung up in the trees, adorning every surface for miles around. The sound was deafening but joyful, like the very essence of a holiday spirit made manifest. Ho, ho, ho! I exclaimed, his eyes twinkling with delight. I've never seen anything quite like this before. It is as if Christmas itself had come to life in your forest. He turned to Monty, who stood proudly before him, and shook a paw in greeting. You must be the famous Jingle Bell Maker I've heard so much about. I am impressed. Monty, starstruck but humble, thanked Santa for his kind words. And as the two talked, an idea began to form in their heads. What if Monty's incredible creations could bring joy and wonder to children around the world? With Santa's help, perhaps every boy and girl could experience a touch of magic for a spirit on Christmas Eve. And so, a partnership was born. Each year, as Santa prepared his sleigh for its long journey, he would be joined by Monty and a team of dedicated elves, determined to spread the jingle bell far and wide. Together they crafted an endless array of bells, from tiny ones that would fit on children's fingers to enormous shimmering giants that adorned the very top of the sleigh. And as Santa flew through the night sky, the jingle bells sang their melodious song, announcing his arrival and filling the air with the spirit of Christmas. In time, Monty became an honorary member of Santa's workshop. His unique skills and boundless creativity invaluable at crafting the perfect holiday experience for children everywhere. And though he may have started as a humble moose from a simple forest, Monty never forgot where he came from, or the importance of using one's gifts to bring joy and happiness to others. For you see, my young friends, this is the true magic of the Christmas. Not the presents under the tree or the lights in the branches that are on the branches, but the love and laughter we share for those around us. And in this way, each of us can bring a little bit like Monty, spreading his own special kind of holiday cheer to all we meet. And so as we go forth from here, remember the tale of the curious little moose who dreamed big and touched the world with his creations. Let his story inspire you to nurture your unique talents and use them to make the lives of others a little bit brighter, cheerful, and a little more wonderful. Just like the shimmering jingle bells that announced the arrival of Santa Claus himself. As the years passed and Monty's fame grew, so did the scourge of his winter festivals. The once humble forest gatherings evolved into a grand week-long celebrations that drew preachers from far and wide, all eager to experience the unparalleled joy and camaraderie that Monty and his friends had cultivated. New traditions were established each year. Elaborate ice sculptures carved by Benny's artistic cousins, mesmerized lantern processions led by Oliver's nimble family, and of course a new batch of intricately designed jingle bells crafted by Monty himself. The Moose took great pride in ensuring that every bell was unique, its sound was different from the other ones, much like each individual who rang it. As the festival grew, so did the opportunities for Monty to learn and grow. He discovered that by combining different metals and materials, he could create bells with a vast array of tones and resonances. Copper sang out slightly, while tin offered a deepened, more somber note. When he experienced with adding tiny pebbles or drops of water inside the bells before sealing them, he found he could reproduce an astonishing array of textures and rhythms. Monty became obsessed with the science behind his art, spending countless hours in his workshop, tinkering and testing new designs as filled book notes with sketches and designs. His friends marveled at his dedication and passion, knowing that each new bell he created was a testament to his unwavering commitment to perfection. But Monty's growth wasn't limited in just his craftsmanship. As a festival expanded, so did his role as a leader and unifier among the forest creatures. He organized committees to plan different aspects of the celebration, from decorations and music to food and games. He mediated disputes fairly and compassionately, always striving to ensure that everyone felt valued and included. Monty even took on the responsibility of overseeing the distribution of gifts for the less fortunate members of the animal community. With the help of a group of dedicated volunteers, he would spend weeks gathering and crafting presents, warm blankets woven from the heart, mosses, and fillers. He would spend weeks gathering and crafting presents, warm blankets woven from soft mosses and fibers, hearty treats preserved in honey and jam, and of course, special jingle bells designed to bring comfort and joy. One particular cold and snowy winter, Monty noticed that the older members of the forest community were struggling more than usual. Their fur had grown thicker with age, but their bodies moved slower, and their spirits seemed dampened by the relentless chill. Determined to find a way to help them, Monty threw himself into a research and experimentation. He spent long hours in the workshop, surrounded by piles of books and scrolls he had created from travelers passing through the forest. Everything from ancient animals' remedies to modern human innovations. And after weeks of tireless work, Monty finally stumbled upon a solution: heated jingle bells. By wrapping thin strips of metal around a center core and running them through a special mixture of herbs and minerals known for their heat-retaining abilities, Monty was able to create bells that stayed warm to the touch for hours on end. He even designed a way for them to be worn safely around the neck or wrist, providing a constant source of smoothing warmth. The heated jingle bells were an instant hit among the elderly forest creatures, and their gratitude towards Monty knew no boundaries. They praised his compassion, ingenuity, and dedication to improving the lives all around him. And as the words of Monty's latest creation spread throughout the forest, more and more animals sought out his guidance and support. But with great power comes great responsibility, and Monty was not immune to the challenges that came with being a leader. There were times when the demands of his time and energy seemed overwhelming. Requests for new bells, complaints about festival logistics, even the occasional argument over who had contributed what to which project. Despite his stressful periods, Monty would often take refuge in his workshops late at night, surrounded by familiar sights, sounds, and smells of his beloved craft. It was there that he found solace and rejuvenation, reminding himself of why he had started down this path in the first place, to bring him joy, laughter, and warmth to others. And as he sat there, lost in thought amidst the tinkling of thousands of jingle bells, Monty would often think back to the words of old Gus, who had been one of his most steadfast mentors and friends. The true meaning of an artist, Gus would say, is not the beauty or complexity of their creations, but the love and care that they put into them. It's that love that gives a peace, its soul, its heart, and it's that love that resonates with others, drawing them in and touching their own hearts. Monty took these words to heart, letting them guide him through even the most challenging times. Although there were certainly moments of doubt and frustration, he never lost sight of his ultimate goal: to use his gift to make the world a brighter, more wonderful place for all those who inhabit it. As Monty grew older and wiser, he began to recognize the impact that his work had, not just on the creatures of the forest, but on the wider world beyond. He started to receive letters and messages from far-flung corners of the animal kingdom, each one telling a story of how a jingle bell or a festive tradition had brought light and laughter to someone's life. There were tales of lonely hearts finding solace in the shared joy of celebration, of families reuniting after years apart, drawn together by the promise of a magical night, young dreamers inspired to pursue their own passions, having witnessed the power of one of the Moose's unwavering dedication to his art. And with each new story that reached him, Monty felt a profound sense of purpose and a fulfillment that he knew he had found his true calling in life, not just as a craftsman or a leader, but as a bringer of hope and happiness to all those who crossed his path. But even as the accolades and tributes flowed in from every direction, Monty remained humble and grounded. He never forgot the lessons he had learned in his early years when he was nothing more than a curious young moose with a dream and a bell. He knew that his true magic of the holidays lay not in the single creation or celebration, but in the connection forged between individuals, the bonds of friendship, love, and community that transcended all boundaries and obstacles. And so as Monty looked to the future, he did so with a heart full of gratitude and spirit unbreakable. He knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same dedication, passion, and love that he had always guided him, the same qualities that he had made him not just a legendary craftsman, but a true beacon of joy and hope for all those who called the forest home. For in the end, Monty understood that the greatest gift of all was not a material possession or achievement, but the simple act of sharing one's unique talents and abilities with others. Of using every moment to lift up and inspire, to comfort and console, to bring a little more light and laughter into the world. And as he sat there in his workshop, surrounded by the gentle tinkling of thousands of jingle bells, Monty knew that he would continue to do just that, one bell, one festival, one heart at a time. And for that was the true magic of the holidays and the enduring legacy of the moose who had dreamed big and touched the world with his creations. So let us take Monty's story to heart, dear friends, and strive to follow in his paw steps, not just during the holiday season, but throughout all the days of our lives. Let us seek our opportunities and bring joy and warmth to others, to lift up and inspire those around us with our unique gifts and talents. For in this world that can sometimes feel cold and dark, each act of kindness, each expression of love and compassion is a jingle bell ringing out a clarion call to hope, to unity, to the enduring power of the human and animal spirit. And as long as we keep on ringing, keep on shining, keep on sharing our light with others, well, that's the greatest gift we can possibly give. That's the true magic of holidays and the key to a life lived not just for ourselves, but for the betterment of those around us. So go forth, my friends, and let your unique jingle ring out. Let your love and laughter and joy be the beacon to others, drawing them in and reminding them of the beauty and wonder that still exists in this world. And know that with every heart you touch, every life you improve, no matter how big or small the act may seem, you are carrying on the legacy of a curious little moose who dreamed big and changed the world one bell at a time. Happy holidays, everybody. May your days be merry and bright, and may your unique brand of magic shine forth for all those to see. And remember, here's the moral of the story. The true spirit of the holidays lies in using one's gifts and talents to bring joy, love, and laughter to others. By nurturing our own unique abilities and sharing them generously with those around us, we can create a world filled with warmth, wonder, happiness, just as young Monty did in his woodland friends. And he continues to do for children everywhere throughout the magic of Santa's sleigh. Embrace your own potential for greatness and let it shine brightly for all to see. Ho, ho, ho! Thank you for coming and enjoying a wonderful story from Santa. That was pretty amazing. Are you a dreamer? Are you a creator? Maybe you need to tell Santa your favorite ideas. Come back again tomorrow for another wonderful tale from Santa Papa John and Storytime by Santa. Ho, ho, ho! Santa loves you.